this, how would you describe how the locker room's feeling? How are guys, feeling after that one?
We ticked off. Don't nobody like losing. I know none of you guys would like losing, especially when we know we got a lot of talent on our team. We just got to regroup.
Marcellus. I know I'm worried, but should the Ravens be worried about Lamar Jackson?
No, they shouldn't be worried about Lamar Jackson. Actually, Lamar needs to be worried about the Ravens, especially the play calling, especially the trust level in terms of letting him let loose and evolve as a quarterback, specifically as a passer. One, I need a real wide receiver to stand up, not just tweet, not just say, hey, I'm not being properly utilized. I'm talking about, like, really stand up and be a weapon out there. Make it happen. I'm seeing rookies out there now just coming off the college field to the pro level with suspect quarterbacks. Talking about you, Minnesota. But going out there and balling with Jefferson and Kirk Cousins, right? Like, you don't need everything to be perfect for it to work out. And I just look at this offense, and it's hard for me to grade this week. I would love to have this take after a losing effort in a normal week, because this wasn't a normal week. That monsoon that they played in, those conditions that they played in, everyone's affected differently. I played in Buffalo in the cold. The cold didn't bother me. I thought it would. I'm a Cali boy, but I played in New York City for my years, and I got to Buffalo. I was like, this is fine for me. But opponent after opponent got off the bus, was like, what the hell? How you deal with this, Wiley? I'm like, dog, get it out your head, or it's going to show up on the field. Those conditions weren't adequate for us looking at the evolution of Lamar, but that loss was. Like, dial it up right. Dial it up properly, whether we're talking about the fact that they just look like a team that didn't have firepower when I know that they have firepower. So I was really disturbed that there's not a growth process. There's not the evolution as expected with Lamar Jackson, especially as a passer. And it's not because of his ability. I think it's really because of this play calling.
I think the Ravens should be worried about Lamar Jackson, but they should be worried about themselves, to your point. Got to be worried about everything.
Okay.
The Ravens go as Lamar Jackson goes. Here's why they should be worried about Lamar Jackson. Statistically, he's declined in every category that's a meaningful category from last season to this season. Let's just look at the facts. Can we bring up the wrong direction full screen, please? Passing plus rushing yards per game, down about 30. Passing plus rushing touchdowns, going to be down about 13 total if he keeps up his trajectory. Passing yards per attempt, down. Rushing average, down. Everything, Marcellus, is going down. And not young Jock either. It's all going down. And so if you're a Baltimore Raven fan, or if you're on the staff, you have to wonder, is Lamar Jackson going to follow the same fate of other quarterbacks who have been more deadly with their legs than their arm? What do I mean?
I know where you're going.
I said this last week. 2015, Cam Newton goes to the Super Bowl. Best season he had. 2016, 7-9. 2017, won 11 games. I think lost first round in the playoffs. 2018, 2019, 2020, the rest is history. Y'all know how that story unfolded. Michael Vick, #1 overall pick, one of the baddest men I've ever played with. 2004, goes to the NFC Championship game with the Atlanta Falcons. Never to return again. Those players who were better with their legs than with their arm, which it has now become unequivocally clear that Lamar Jackson is currently better with his legs than with his arm. Those players, they peak, and then after seeing that peak, they don't return. Now, I don't think Lamar Jackson's bad with his arm. That's not what the heck I'm up here saying. But what I'm saying is, as great as he is with his legs, he's the best quarterback in the game with his legs. He's clearly not the best with his arm. So he is better with his legs than he is with his arm. So for the quarterbacks that we have seen who are better runners than they are passers, Cam Newton, Mike Vick, Lamar Jackson, there is a big history to fight, and that is why I think why the Ravens should be worried about Lamar Jackson.
Okay. Before I bring in someone to help settle this score, how do you declare someone's better with their arm or their legs if last year, a complete year, they actually threw 36 touchdown passes, which was tops in the NFL? I wonder if that guy is pretty good.
Where was he rushing? Where was he rushing? Top in the NFL.
Yeah, but you talk about who had a better arm last year from the pocket. Who threw more touchdown passes than Lamar Jackson? Anybody? Anybody? It's quiet in here.
Lamar Jackson.
Rest in peace, Alex Trebek, but this is not Jeopardy. Where's the answer? Do you have the answer?
Lamar Jackson is a better runner. He is a better quarterback with his legs than he is with his arm. Like, that is unequivocal. Lamar Jackson is the best quarterback with his legs.
This year,
he is not the best with his arm.
This year, 14 passing touchdowns, 5 picks. Last year, 15 and 5. Damn, if that ain't close, I don't know what is.
Marcellus.
I got you. You said my name.
No, you got me annoyed.
I
got me
you.
irritated. I'm not going to do this with you no more.
Dog.
I'm going to bring in Bucky Brooks.
Yeah, bring him in. You need some help.
I don't need no help.
Life
Marcellus is annoying me. Bucky, please come educate this man. Should the Ravens be worried about Lamar Jackson?
No. I think Marcellus has it correct. Lamar Jackson should be worried about the Ravens because it's not Lamar Jackson who has changed. It's the pieces around him that are not the same. When you look at the Baltimore Ravens offensive line, it is a shell of what it was a season ago. Because remember, I think this was underrated, underreported. Marshall Yanda, who will go down as a Hall of Fame caliber guard, he retired a season ago. So you lose that piece. You now playing without Ronnie Stanley, who's a Pro Bowl caliber player. You now have Orlando Brown moving from right tackle to left tackle, which we all know is very, very difficult. We have DJ Fluker moving out from guard to right tackle, which that is an uncommon transition at the offensive line. You then have a young guy starting at right guard. And so you don't have the ability to do what they did last year, which was bully people in the running game and protect Lamar Jackson. So part of the reason why he is not as successful as a passer, the fortress in front of him is no longer impenetrable. They now are beginning to get through that. They're not able to impose their will in the trenches. Because of that, Lamar Jackson is affected like many other quarterbacks are affected when their offensive line doesn't play up to snuff.
Fellas, I'm not disagreeing with that. First off, like Bucky Brooks, I think you're exactly right on the fact of Marshall Yanda does not get enough credit, or at least his absence. Nobody talks about that because we really just don't show offensive linemen love. Marcellus, I think that Lamar Jackson should be worried about the Ravens as well. But let's be real, it's a dog-eat-dog world in the NFL. And in the NFL, you're not going to replace the entire organization. But what you are going to do is look at the one player, the quarterback, also the face of the franchise. You all are correct about all the absences on the offensive line, the deteriorating run game, the lack of a playmaking receiver, all that. I'm not going to sit here and argue with y'all on that. But the fact of the matter is, you can point to one guy for the Ravens and say, wait a second, things have changed. He's not peaking like he did. Here is why. Last year, if you're preparing for the Baltimore Ravens, you have 3 to 4 days to prepare. In the NFL, you're off on Monday or you're off on Tuesday. If you're off on Monday, you got a 2-hour day on Tuesday. Wednesday, you got a hard preparation day. Thursday, you come in, another hard preparation day. Friday, you probably have like an 80-play walkthrough. Saturday, you gear it up a little bit, you play on Sunday. Why am I saying this? Because last year, teams had, 3-4 days to prepare for Lamar Jackson. This year, defensive coordinators had, 3-4+ months to prepare for Lamar Jackson. The learning curve and the adjustment curve has currently caught up to the Ravens and their scheme, and Lamar Jackson is a conduit for the scheme. That's why you have to be worried about the one conduit for the scheme, which is Lamar Jackson.
Wrong. It's not about Lamar Jackson, who I continue to highlight is basically on pace with the pace he had last year as a unanimous MVP. Oh, you don't think so? Let's look at the passing touchdowns and the rushing touchdowns.
Just on pace for 13
just one. Last year, 15-5. This year, he's 14-5. I just don't understand where you're coming from, Acho. But you know what it is? Expectations are necessary, but absurd expectations are just that. Absurd. This guy won 14 games last year as a first-year starter. Did you think he was going to win more this year? Did you think he was going to win the same amount? Or did you think what's happening is reality? He was going to win fewer games this year. Patrick Mahomes. Hold on. After his MVP year, Patrick Mahomes' numbers suffered. But we weren't saying it's over for Patrick Mahomes. Should we be worried about Patrick Mahomes? And he got injured in that same year. But I digress. Let's look at this. 14-2 last year. Oh, you're one game fewer so far. And we don't know how it's going to pace out. But you're one game fewer in terms of the wins, in terms of that pace. Oh, unanimous MVP last year. Oh, this year, you're 12th in terms of combined touchdowns at the passing and rushing at the quarterback position. It's just absurd expectations. We don't want to highlight excuses, and I don't either. But let's give a reason. Down 3 offensive line starters. Nick Boyle goes out in that same game, your best blocking tight end. And then you lose 4 defensive starters in that monsoon against New England, including Calais Campbell, who went out with the calf. The point is, everything around them is eroding or nothing is blossoming to the point where it can help support what Lamar Jackson has to do as the franchise QB.
You know, what's funny about this is I'm hearing these concerns, particularly coming off the New England game, and I think it's really overblown. And I do believe expectations are playing into the narrative when it comes to Lamar Jackson, because I looked at that same New England defense go against Josh Allen. Josh Allen only completed 11 of 18 passes, 154 yards. He had an interception. He had a passer rating of 65.5. Yet I don't hear the screams about what is wrong with Josh Allen. It is because of the expectations. Because Lamar Jackson has played at an MVP level, we're judging him based on that. And look, that makes sense because he's a fantastic player. But what I will say is some of this criticism should be directed at the coaches. And the coach in particular is Greg Roman. Because when we look at this offense, I think the one thing that has remained consistent when it comes to the Baltimore Ravens struggles in the postseason and in games,